Welcome everyone to Friday's report out. I'm feeling dowdy and under glittery looking at some of you, and I'm delighted to see the National Elf Service represented. Very good, very good. Welcome to the report out. We've got some really good colleagues reporting out today, and we have got quite a packed agenda. So we're going to move straight in to the acute general surgery value stream, RPIW4, and I'd like to invite colleagues, Nasira, Rachel and other colleagues, oh fantastic, to come forward. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jimmy Two Badges, workshop leader for this RPIW. This is our project form which frames our work this week. We're focused on the patient journey from the point they agree they need acute surgery to the point that they get to the anaesthetic room. Essentially, our patients wait during this time for a lot longer than that. They're often hungry, and they also often don't know just how long they might be waiting. Feels like a while to me. So what's happening in the meantime is our teams are working flat out to try and do the things they need to be doing to get these people who need acute surgery to that anaesthetic room safely with all the information they need. But what we also find is that these information systems are not necessarily defect free, and that leads to frustration for our staff. I just want to get started. Yeah? And delays for our patients who often don't know when they're going to get started, let alone when they might get home. So these people who represent key roles in the process have put their effort this week into making this better.
Hello, my name's Matthew. I'm the team lead for the event this week. We use Leeds improvement method tools to observe, to calculate, to measure what was going on. I'm in the Gemba. TAC time told us that we had an hour and 50 minutes to move a patient through this process, 1 hour and 50 minutes. From what we observed, there was 5 hours and 54 minutes lead time for patients who stayed in, and an 18 hours and 51 minutes lead time for patients who went home and returned. But there was so much complexity and there was so much variation in the system, lots of data ranges, that we made a deliberate decision not to set ourselves targets apart from let's see what we can do about reducing this. We also identified quality measures about standardising around U codes, around patients not being ready when porters arrived, and about making sure that when a booking form was given to the acute coordinator, it wasn't just left on the desk, but there was a discussion that was had.
Good afternoon, I'm Andy Lum. I'm an anaesthetist who's just finished my quarter century of working 1 day a week in the acute theatre. I'm also a Kaizen virgin, so I apologise for delivering this talk in Yorkshire English rather than management speak. We looked at Theatre 2 and whether there was extra capacity to use Theatre 2 for doing acute surgery. The picture there is what you normally find in Theatre 2 in Jeffrey Giles, i.e. no patient. It's very poorly utilised despite for many years being set up to do non-urgent or planned acute, semi-acutes. Our idea was that we should use this more like an elective operating list. In other words, the day before, decide which patients are going to be done there and set them up as a list with a published list, get the surgeons in agreement with it, get the list order sorted, tell everybody that that's what we're going to do and inform the patients. This offers 3 advantages. The first is that we would use the theatre more effectively. The second is some of the patients could then go home and come back the next day through the usual elective pathway. And the third is that the patients would know when their operation is going to be. And we know that not knowing that is the major source of stress for acute patients. We've seen that this week and when we've been out and about, and we know it from previous work. We also discovered when we tested this on Wednesday and Thursday, we did do a couple of patients through this route, that it's quite difficult to set up. A lot of liaison and work is involved. So we did decide that actually what we need is a specific person whose job it would be the day before is to set this list up and make sure everybody, including the patients, the wards, the staff, know that that is what is going to happen. We might call them an acute theatre scheduler. The trial will take place using Becky.
Hello, my name's Becky and I'm a theatre support worker in acutes at St James's. This new role would be called an acute patient theatre coordinator. So in the afternoon, we would contact all specialities who might have cases that are suitable for the next morning's list, i.e. general, thoracics, urology and gynae, of course. This would then be discussed with clinical staff the best ordered for the cases and check with availability of surgeons for each of these cases. We will also use PAS and TMS to pre-populate this list, inform SAU and JAL of this list and the planned patients. Patients can then go home, sleep well, knowing that the next day they will have their operation done and in order.
You probably didn't even notice, but as soon as Becky got involved, an operation has started taking place in theatre, demonstrating how effective this is going to be. So we think this really offers the chance to better utilise that theatre.
We do intend to monitor this before and after we introduce the new system using our standard TMS data. Thank you.
So just moving on from that and just discussing these ambulatory patients. Sorry, hello. My name is Nasira. I'm up here so often I forget. Some of you may not know me. I'm a clinical leadership fellow and also co-process owner for this RPIW. So just looking at the ambulatory patients described by Andy and Becky, we know that they account for up to 30% of our acute patients coming in. Now, due to more pressing, urgent, life-saving cases, these patients are deprioritised. This then results in them waiting longer for their surgery, longer hospital stays and a poorer patient experience. During an on-call week, an on-call consultant surgeon has to make those decisions, and in addition to that, he or she has daily handovers, x-ray meetings, needs to review all the acute admissions, all the acute operating, receiving the tertiary referrals, and then also expected to be able to commence theatre promptly first thing. I'm really pleased to see that some of the consultant surgeons are sat in here and I'm hoping they can profess to that. The tests that you've heard described have shown that the availability of a separate senior surgeon as a key decision maker can get theatres running on time. Better communication leads to less delay, less waste. We could just move that on. The hope as well is that the senior surgeon would be able to provide the junior surgical trainees with direct supervision and training, leading to better training and better patient outcomes. We've had patients share their experience of this test week and they've demonstrated a far more positive outcome. LTHT, as we know, is the UK's busiest surgical unit, and that has an average annual increase of 11%. Despite all the hard work being done by all the teams, we are seeing that demand is superseding capacity. We have consultant surgeons in the room who have been on call and they can tell us how much work that they do. We need to move forward with more senior clinicians who are available to coordinate and deliver that work with these acute lists and creation of clearer pathways. We need those extra resources to increase the efficiency and develop what we hope would be an ambulatory service which would encompass an alternative framework. Patients, I hope, would have then a clearer plan and a more seamless journey and experience.
Hi, my name's Alistair. I'm one of the pancreas surgeons, and this is our plan to address the delays in theatre access for patients needing acute biliary surgery. So currently we recognise they need surgery, but we're often unable to deliver it because there's more emergent cases, so these patients wait, they get a raw deal. I recently saw a patient in clinic who was fasted 5 days in a row and still didn't receive his surgery. So our team's plan was to suggest utilising the liver transplant theatre, that's theatre 9, each morning for an acute biliary list. We obviously couldn't do it when there's a transplant, but this theatre is usually empty, and so the skilled staff working there usually get redistributed elsewhere. We tested this yesterday. We had a prepared list the night before, and the activity was delivered by additional staff, so myself and Dr. Lum, and it worked well. We managed to complete the list, and that's despite it being one of the busiest acute weeks I've seen. There was planned liver transplant and renal transplant activity, and if we hadn't done these cases, they'd still be waiting now. The feedback was great. We removed the uncertainty. They knew when they were going to get their operation. The surgical feedback was universally positive, and it would also improve the theatre staff morale because we've been making best use of their specialist skills, delivering complex biliary surgery rather than being redistributed every day. So to take this forward, it would improve patient care, it would reduce waits, reduce readmissions, be better for flow, and so I'd agree with one of my colleagues. I think it's a no-brainer.
Good morning, my name's Philip and I'm part of the portering service run by Facilities. Sometimes time is lost by late allocation to porters, especially when taking patients to theatre. So the theatre staff are ready for the patient and they have to wait for the patient to arrive. I think we need to be a little bit more ergonomic when it comes to moving patients around the whole hospital, never mind just theatres. There's two ideas I've got here that we're going to dwell upon. The first idea is when a porter turns up to theatre with a patient, he liaises with the theatre staff and the hub to negotiate who do I move next, because theatres are priority. Second idea is when a porter arrives at theatre with a patient, he asks whether he can have time to stay and carry out more duties for the theatre for longer periods. So in the first instance you could stay for 2 hours, 3 hours, and the second idea is to stay for longer, depending on theatre lists, of course, and how busy the theatres are. We need to be flexible, and I'm hoping both ideas will be considered for trialling because we need to help theatres achieve their goals. A footnote, it's important that we don't rush patients to theatre because we need to reduce the risk of patient anxiety, and we need to make sure their journey is a smooth one. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Dan. I'm an ODP from the Acute and Obstetrics team here in St James's. I'm also an away team member for this RPIW event. So the ambulatory list that Nazira discussed earlier is an opportunity to work through a very important workload within the hospital, and one of the problems we've identified is getting the patients to theatre. It's a process that involves multiple stakeholders and workflows. Small faults in this or breakdowns can cause huge delays and unproductivity. The idea that we came up with here was to reduce a particular part of this process, something that we can immediately measure while having potential for instant impact. So we looked at removing two factors, one of which was the CARPS hub system, and the second one is a pre-wait area in theatres. We thought we could replace this with a member of the ambulatory list team collecting patients from pre-specified wards, i.e. SAU and JAL, bringing the patients directly to the anaesthetic room and bypassing pre-wait. So we tested this in a live environment, and it was subject to the real-time factors that were discussed earlier. And these are factors that affect the acute theatres on a day-to-day basis, and data was taken from live observations. Learning from this, we can, in the best case scenario, reduce that particular aspect of lead times to approximately 9 minutes. We learned that preparing the home team is key, and one particularly poignant thing is what ifs and critical eyes are not always negatives and can be positive. What next for this? Well, we have planned live testing, an implementation process, and working more with the hub to improve patient flow.
Hi, my name's Claire. I'm one of the team leaders who works in Jeffrey Giles Theatres, and I'm also an aware team member. So to make all this real magic stuff happen, it needs clear leadership. So what we really needed to look at was the acute coordinator role and how we set that person up for success. Currently, it is driven on a personality process. There's approximately 11 or 12 coordinators and all work slightly different. So there's really like a standard work. So what the idea was, we would create some standards for each coordinator to follow with timescales, so that these things would be achievable, and it would include expectations, escalation, outcomes, and planning of every list. To test it, what we had to do, we had to collaborate with all those people on the shop floor. So we drew up a draft of what we thought would be the key things to look at, and then we asked the staff what they thought. We missed a few things out. There was a few things in there that they said were wasteful, and when we discussed it, we took them back away. And then we continue this for 30 days. So the idea moving forward is we're going to test this for 30 days. We're going to create this timeline for them to see, so it's really visible, really concise, really clear. And then after 30 days, if we come back to report out and we find it successful, we will look at putting that into some sort of official documentation. The main thing about this, if you see the first picture, it's chaos, and it is kind of chaos for a coordinator. It's very stressful, and it's 11 and a half hours of continuous use of brain and trying to coordinate so many things. So if this makes things a little bit more palatable for those people, that makes for a better working environment for everybody, but mostly the patient.
Hello, my name's Tony. I'm a patient partner for this RPIW, so I provided the outside eyes and walked in the steps of others. The Kaizen event in October focused on bringing structure and consistency to the completion of the theatre booklet and the use of the theatre board. It was the tip of the iceberg. This RPIW has revealed the astounding complexity of the competing considerations before every single patient journey through theatre. As one of the surgeons said, it is as though the whole of medical science has to be recreated before every operation. So there was a crying need for standard work, which embedded what-if planning. When the away team leaves behind the Gemba and enters the RPIW, there is intrinsic potential for feelings of uncertainty, even insecurity, to surface. And it extends outwards and backwards to the home team on the Gemba. This is normal. It's a normal response to being betwixt and between the current state and the future state. But it's also a psychological state that has to be managed and resolved before any enduring learning and growth can be achieved. It requires reserves of emotional intelligence, and we committed to upholding and promoting respectful behaviours. We were learning to be compassionate leaders.
So in terms of what we learned against the target progress report this week, by about day one from the ideas generation and the planning, we realised that we weren't going to focus on the U-code standard, because there was lots of other standards that we could go at much quicker. And as you've heard from Claire and Dan and some other people, a number of standards have been developed, tested, and they're ready to be tested further for the next 30 days. In terms of the quality measures around patient being ready and information just being left on the coordinator's desk, we got that to 0 in the week, so that was fantastic. And we had the challenge around lead times, but of the 4 lead time observations that colleagues did for patients that left and came back, 2 of those were under the observed lead times that we'd seen in the lead up to the event and that. So even there in that very challenging week, there was movement in a way which we can dig into further and understand why that happened.
This is just a snapshot of the newspaper items that we have, and we are committed to taking these actions forward, and we look forward to reporting out in the next 30 days.
So it leaves me to summarise key learning. So our improvement method challenges to understand the current state. You've heard how complex and variable that can be, and perhaps the team can mention is that this chaos that you saw of the graphic perhaps pushed us to think we can't make a plan. It just keeps changing. What's the point in making a plan? But I think what people came to was, in that kind of environment, having a plan is even more important. It's just you probably need a plan A, B, C, D. So coming back to the what if, let's start with something rather than start with nothing, and move on from there, rather than arrive every day thinking what might happen here, and the challenges that creates for everyone, as we've heard, with people working really hard and the patient waiting. Sometimes our method is a little bit like peeling the layers of an onion. You might have heard this analogy before, but the bit that makes your eyes water is the root. So you have to keep going, and sometimes you don't like what you see, if you can actually see it amongst the streams of tears coming down your face. But having demonstrated the courage and commitment to get to the route, this method also gives us an opportunity and importantly permission to think what ingredients we might add. Collaboration, vision, innovation to produce a tasty future. That's our report out. So thank yous. Where is she? She's not here. She's in Bruges. But she did a massive amount of work. Rachel Jenkins, co-process owner. She's in the shot there. We should have drawn a stick around her. And all these people who I can't mention by name, but I don't think I've ever written as long a thank you list. And that is an underline of all the people's commitment to helping us this week in what's been a really difficult week. And apologies if we've missed people, but that's testament to how this team have approached collaboration and how these people and many others have supported trying to move this stuff on. I think it's the beginning. We might not be at the root, but we're certainly peeling a few layers back. That's our report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Can I just say that was great. We will have time for questions at the end, but I just wanted to respond immediately to the whole of the team saying what a great report out that was. Struck by the fact you did this during incredible operational challenging pressures. Struck by the range of teamwork and collaboration across all of that and the way you put it across. Really good, really good. I'm sure there'll be loads of questions about that, so thank you very much. Next up, we've got the Emergency Department Value Stream, RPIW2, Cubicle Management Shared Spaces, 60-day report out, and Jane.
It's a bit complicated than what I'm used to. Word. Or is it just the map?
There's a keyboard underneath, Jenny.
Arrows. Comfortable. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jane Pilkington. I'm Senior Sister in A&E at the LGI, and I'm the process owner for our RPIW 2 week at the LGI ED department. So this was our project form, and just to recap a little bit for people that might not have heard it before, we were looking at cubicle management and shared spaces with an aim to reduce both the clinician time and the nursing time spent walking round and round our department. It's quite obvious we don't have enough rooms for the amount of patients that are coming through, and especially at the moment, so this was something we were really keen to get off the ground and work towards improving. So this is our target progress report, and just looking at a couple of things. Some of the numbers may not look as impressive as we would want them to, as they did at 30-day report out, but as you probably can appreciate, this last couple of weeks have been really difficult time, really busy, really hectic. But one thing I will say for the team within that time is that they still believe in the process and they're still trying to do it. So it's been challenging, but we're still there. So some of the figures are not quite probably where we would want them to be, but we're still working towards that. So the walking distance has increased for both the clinicians and the Blue Team coordinator. We were aiming to reduce them. And some of the things that we've put in place have helped reduce them in other ways, but it's not totally showing there, which is a bit of a shame. So the clinician walking time did go up, but when I was questioning them, talking to them about it, it wasn't anything specific, because on the first way around they were looking for equipment, they were looking for rooms, they were looking for where to put the patients, but it wasn't that this time. It was just that maybe it was a quicker clinician because it wasn't the same doctor, but his steps didn't reflect any major issues within the process. Some of the things that we've put in place had actually helped him within his workload. And the Blue Team coordinator, our aim was for them to stay static in one position so that they always knew where the patients were. They could keep our boards up to date. But unfortunately, due to some staffing levels, and we've opened a second assessment unit, so our staff are spread a little bit thin, so they're also supporting junior nurses, doing treatments, things like that. So it's still our aim. We still want to do that when we get up to establishment, but it's kind of a bit unsteady there at the moment with them. So like I said, the increase in attendance and pressures of the overcrowding and congestion has probably contributed to this as well. So we were looking at our lead time as well. It's gone up a little bit slightly from 30 day to 60 day, but there's still a significant improvement from our baseline, from where we started from. So that's good, and we're hoping that that's what we've put in place to stop that happening. They're no longer having to come out of cubicles, no longer having to do as much walking around the place looking for patients, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've just one defect that I wanted to talk about, which is kind of the theme through, and what we were aiming for is that the Symphony and whiteboard, and if you're not used to Symphony, it's an electronic version of our patients in the department, where they are, what they're in with, where they're up to in the process. And we got a whiteboard as well to map out where the patients were, so that we always knew what rooms were in use. It's a little higher than last time, but I think that's because of the sheer busyness of the department, and the running around just trying to keep on top of that workload. But it's something we're still looking at and we're still aiming towards. Okay, so this is our newspaper. Don't know if you can see them pictures greatly. So our blue team coordinator, the picture with the whiteboard, that's what we're encouraging. That's what we want somebody to do. And when we find we get somebody to stay there and literally coordinate, then that's when the process works the best, because they know where the cubicles are, they know where the patients are, they can direct staff to where they are effectively. If you move that coordinator, some of the process goes astray. So that's that. But what staff were finding out, it's a little bit clumsy. It's something we could put in quick. The whiteboard is quite big, the space is quite small. So one of the things that we're doing is we're putting it onto a wall, so it's away from the main working area. People lean on it, things get missed off it. And staff are still thinking of ways to improve it. They're thinking of Word documents and Excel and things like that. So people are still in the background thinking of how we can improve that. And we're hoping with electronic ways in the future, like the scan for safety and things like that, that we will electronically improve rather than the written. So the smart room is this. This is the design. We showed last time a few designs, so this is what we've decided on. It's a quick turnaround room. It's not for patients to stay in. It's for you to take a cannula out, to do bloods, to tell patients they can go home. There should always be that space that you can bring patients in just for very quick things. You're not looking around. We're making it bright, we're making it cheerful, so that it's a bit in your face and it's something different to the rest of the rooms, so that people know you're not to stay in there. And we've kind of stocked it with things that you may need. Okay, quickly. Signage through the department. We were finding we were having 3 different ways of trying to find where patients were, where cubicles were, whether they were free, whether they were in use. So we looked at outside the cubicles, plus we then had Symphony on the whiteboard. It was just too many things going on at once. So the signage outside the cubicles, we've decided that that's not the way we want to go at the moment. It was going to be an in-use or free, but we want to encourage the communication through the coordinator. So that's something that we've took away through a 5S process any unnecessary signage and things that were just stuck up to warn people, but nobody were reading. You couldn't tell what was there, but there was lots there. The storage system that we had, I mean, we've been really lucky actually, because we got things that we wanted within the 60 days. So we wanted ophthalmoscopes in every room, we wanted horoscopes in every room. We've got them done, which is absolutely huge really. And we've got stocking trolleys in every room with equipment for medical staff and nursing that you might need quickly. You don't have to go looking around, so tendon hammers, gauze, various things that you need. So that's in them rooms, so but a time frame. So they are rooms, they're thick plastic, nice trolleys that we can use, and they've been proven to be useful. And what I wanted to say with that was the storage as well, is we did a Gemba walk around about a couple of weeks ago, and even on that, some people were having great ideas on how to stock them, because that's an extra job, an extra 20 trolleys to stock a day. But the Gemba walk around was really useful because they had ideas of the rotation of stock within it, so we're going to use some of them ideas that they came up with. So barriers and key learning, significant increase in attendances have led to overcrowding and congestion in the department. We know that, but we're still trying to make change. The changes to our internal flow, they're still apparent, and it's still a challenge for us with staffing numbers. But we know that it's the resource in the right place at the right time, help us achieve what we want to achieve, what our original goal was. The new storage and equipment, as I've just mentioned, are there. It reduces the frustration of the team looking for things, and it reduces them away from the patient, so they're getting a better journey. They're not in and out of the cubicle. That communication is continuous. So all them things that we've learned, and we're still trying to keep in place, even though it's been quite difficult. But the team is still behind it, which I think is phenomenal, really, because change is difficult at the best of times without what else is going on for us. So, yeah, thank you.
Jane, thanks so much. That was great, and I think just to say a huge word of appreciation to you and your colleagues in terms of handling, kind of the level of pressures, and to carry on with that work as you're doing and keeping faith with that, as you said, I think is phenomenal. So please pass that on, I think, from all of us listening to that, because the work that you're doing to really maximise the use of facilities and make it easier for you and your team to do the work is fantastic. So look forward to seeing you at the next one. Great, thank you. Okay, next up, we've got 60-day report out. We've got the ophthalmology value stream. Kaizen event number 1, clinic setup.
Hello, my name's Deborah Hall. I'm the Head of Nursing for Head and Neck CSU, and I was also the team leader for the Kaizen event. Just a recap, we revisited 2 RPIWs. One was for patient check-in and the other was for clinic setup reduction. As part of the choosing of those events, things had changed in the department. When the original event was done, doors opened at 8:30, although staff started at 8 o'clock and were busy setting clinics up. We moved the time of opening the doors back to 8:15. Patients entered the department, but they could only check in if they self-checked in, which was a challenge for them with the eyesight problems and also the use of the equipment. So that slowed things down for staff. Then at 8:30, there would be a group of people who would all stand up and overwhelm the reception staff because they all felt if they then got checked in, they might get seen quicker. And in terms of the clinic reduction setup, there are at least 15 clinic rooms that all need setting up. Most of them are in use every day. And although good work had been done, it was still taking up to 45 minutes to have the clinic ready. So we thought, again, that was a good use of the time to make sure we were ready to go. So we did that work, and in terms of our target progress report, we looked at the lead time, so the time from the first patient arriving to actually having the nurse undertake their vision, because they have the vision tested before they then see the doctor. At the last report out, we'd achieved 3 minutes, and that was not as consistent as it could have been, but now we've been doing the figures and it's consistently 3 minutes. The target time is 2. We've seen some 2-minute ones, so we're hopeful we will get there, but felt it was only fair to report 3 as being that consistent marker now. And in terms of the environment 5S, at the last report out, we did say we were doing work in the background, but it wasn't something we'd focused on. Since that last report out, the team have been working on the standard work and having the sheets in the room so that you can see your sign and can see at a glance, number 1, what you need, and number 2, it's signed to say that the room is ready so people can go in and set it up. So that's certainly helping with that. And in terms of the setup reduction, we were set a 9-minute target, and we've around 12 minutes again. We've seen some 8 minutes, 9 minutes in there, but consistently we've pulled a full minute back, so we're quite pleased with those achievements. But a couple of the team want to share kind of their experience of how it's feeling.
Hello, my name is Jill. I'm Assistant PSC in Ophthalmology. The project has taken a little longer than we expected to complete, but the staffing and activity in the department is much better and improved. We are looking at in the future contacting the ward clerk within the clinic. We're in the process of appointing at the moment. to advise of any sickness which will impact on clinics that day. As at the moment we are going down to clinic or waiting for the nursing team to ring us if we are contacting patients.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm a clinical officer in ophthalmology and I sometimes do the reception area. We're finding it so much better starting at 8:15 with people coming in and getting them registered in. We're finding that's working great at the beginning of the clinic, but unfortunately in the afternoon it doesn't seem to follow through. Even though we only have a quick turnover when we come start the afternoon. We also are finding patients are enjoying coming in at the beginning, but not enjoying but they've had put 2 hours on the parking. I also find when I do the reception myself, but the board we have at the bottom which the nurses put up and the doctors about the doctors ready, not ready. When patients come up and ask us how long they're going to be, we can look on this board and see how far behind they are. So we can tell them instead of we're having to go find a nurse and explain that as well. We've also got some extra volunteers to help us with the kiosk, which is great for us because they can book in on the activity. So that stops the congestion at the desk. We've only got 2 sessions now of that to find another volunteer for, and then we can move forward on that. So all in all, our staff are really enjoying the 8:15 check-in. Thank you.
So one of the other areas that the team wanted to focus on was the staff huddle, which includes the safety briefing and whether there were any challenges with equipment, etc. When we first started, the huddle was taking about 2 minutes. It is taking a little bit longer now. It's about 5 minutes, but it's more structured and it covers everything. So actually staff feel better prepared. And within that, we've included the buddying up for the bank nurse or any staff, any students, so that they feel part of it as well, because they're kind of hovering on the periphery, but the staff are taking time to make sure they're allocated somebody who's supporting them, and that's helping. In terms of, as Jill said, that information coming down to clinic around whether somebody's off sick or not, we're still working on that one, because in the ideal world we'd like to know at that 8 o'clock, but they don't always ring in, maybe till 10 past, 8:15. So Jill may have been down to the huddle thinking everything's fine, or as she said, she's detained ringing patients because she's had that message. So we're just working for a bit longer on that one. But all in all, it still feels quite positive, and as Lynn said, the patient feedback is much more positive. What we need to do when we've bedded everything is look at how we replicate into the afternoon. Okay, thank you.
Great, brilliant, thank you. Thanks very much, Deborah. And Lynn, Jill, thanks very much for giving us some insight into how it is with the changes and the improvements, particularly in the morning. I think it was really good to hear that. So, well done. Okay, we've now got pharmacy value stream, RPIW 30, 60 and 90 days. We've got RPIW1, dispensing medicine for inpatients. I had the pleasure of a sneak preview of some of this work earlier this week, so looking forward to this. Hand you over.
Pardon? Oh, okay. Thank you. Click the button.
Hello, my name's Helen. I'm the dispensary manager at the inpatient pharmacy in Gledell Wing, and I was part of the home team.
My name's James. I'm a pharmacist, and I was an RPIW team member this week.
And hi, my name's Emma, and I was a RPIW team member.
Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm a ward-based pharmacy support worker, and I was a RPIW team member.
Hello, my name is Derek. I'm a pharmacy support worker in the inpatient dispensary, and I was a team member in this RPIW work.
Hi, my name's Hayley. I'm a pharmacy support worker and I was a team member in the RPIW.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, my name is Matthew and I was a home team member. I'm a continuous improvement specialist within the pharmacy department.
We're here to report our 30, 60 and 90-day progress for dispensing a medicine for an inpatient. We chose to report all 3 months to you as we hope this will help tell the story. On average, Leeds Teaching Hospitals administers 33,000 doses a day. From Harry's story, we know that around 200 doses are missed each day due to the medication not being available at the time needed. RPIW Week gave us the opportunity to try decrease this figure by making changes that will ensure the medication can be on the ward before it's needed, improving patient care.
So I'm just going to give a bit more background to the dispensing process of a medicine, because it's quite complicated, and talk a bit about our boundaries for our improvement work. So a medicine's ordered at ward level usually. An order is printed in the dispensary and it finds its way into a tray to be dispensed here. You can see how originally we had an emphasis on batching. That was something we looked at throughout the week. So from the tray there, one operator, a dispenser, takes the order. They pick the product, they label the product and dispense the product, as you see in the top right hand corner here. And then a second operator is needed to accuracy check the product, and then the medicine's available for delivery. So in terms of our boundaries, we're looking at the moment the order goes into the tray to the medicine being available on the wards for delivery. So as you can see here, this is our standard worksheet, quite muddled, so you can see obviously some waste there. This is a photo down here of the view of the dispensary from the bottom left, and this tray here in the bottom corner is the medicine available for delivery. So you might think, why are we focusing on the dispensary for our improvement work? So there's a couple of reasons for that really. The first reason is that, bearing in mind this is the first RPIW involving medicines, so we wanted to keep it within pharmacy to try not to overcomplicate things. Wasn't quite so straightforward as we found, and we saw it as an opportunity in which we could learn from if we kept it within pharmacy. The second reason, probably more important, is we wanted to see how we could have the biggest impact on patients and getting medicines to patients at the right time. So this is the baseline data, which was fundamental really in driving the improvement work. Our metrics, if I start from the top, we looked at staff walking distance. Our baseline was 59 steps and we wanted to get that down to 30 steps. Our lead time, so from the time that we took the order from the tray to the medicine being available, our baseline was 26 minutes and the sponsor challenge was to get that under 9 minutes. That's a big target there. So our process that we had initially was designed to have 24 pieces of work in the system at one time. We wanted to get that down to 1. We had a couple of quality metrics, and finally, importantly, we were looking at staff morale as well, and this is based on the staff survey. So we had 48% of staff at the start of the project felt they could make a change at work, and we wanted that to be 100%. I'm doing this bit right on this bit. So what happened? What did we do during this week? We looked at a couple of areas in the dispensary. As you saw from the previous picture, the dispensary is quite a large, expansive space. So we wanted to take the work to one area of the dispensary and make the flow more efficient, more logical through the dispensary. We looked at one-piece flow as well. From the previous pictures, there was an emphasis on taking 10 at a time. There was a thought that this was the quickest way to do it, but we did a bit of myth busting and realised that one-piece flow was much more effective. It wasn't all straightforward. Created a number of challenges. We called it the can of worms.
So this is our 30 days target progress report. So as you can see, the staff walking distance has gone up significantly from a mode of about 10 to 62, which is almost twice our target as sponsor target. Sorry, that nearly escaped me. Our lead time has gone up as well to almost twice the sponsor target, and our work in process at this moment was 26. The standard work in process has gone up to 11, which is 10 times more than our sponsor target. And what is even more concerning is staff morale, which we wanted to boost up, but unfortunately it's dropped down to 27%.
So after the 30 days, the team, we had a discussion and we had some thought processes. There was concerns around what can we actually change within the 90 days? Are we being hindered by our processes? We weren't certain of what we could change, what we couldn't change, but for the benefit of the team and the RPIW, we decided to make some changes. So we split the benches. So what they've done is we were working on one bench, we split the benches to 2 benches, we moved the scanners around, and we tried to do this as part of our improvement. And basically those are the conversations that I've just had.
So at 60 days of those changes, what do we see? There's a bit of improvement there in the staff walking distance, which has dropped down to 25, but then we still didn't see much of a positive influence there or changes in the other areas, especially the lead time. Once again, it's gone up to 15 minutes 45 seconds. Work in process has gone up significantly to 42, and standard work in process again has gone up to 14. And what about the staff morale? Unfortunately, it's been dropped further down from 27 to 19%. So at this very moment, you can only imagine how we felt.
So after we reviewed the 60-day results, we were obviously very concerned about the low morale within the team. We wanted to make sure that the staff felt like their ideas were being listened to, which currently they felt like we weren't, and that we weren't addressing the can of worms that they'd been adding to as well. We also hadn't been able to sort of sustain a 2-to-1 dispenser to checker ratio that we'd wanted to do during the RPIW. So we met with the sponsors to sort of discuss this and see what we could do to try and make things better. We had a look at a graph of our tracker times of when work is booked into the dispensary. This graph showed that the majority of our work actually got booked in by 12 p.m, and from 1 p.m. that was sort of steadily dropping.
So after looking at the graph, we realised that our staff weren't working the right hours. We'd always ask staff to work 9:30 till 6 to finish the work off later on in the day. However, looking at the time it was arriving, work was actually arriving early in the day. So we asked staff to trial working earlier hours. It gave them a better work-life balance. It was also an incentive to make the process work by them getting a bit of an earlier finish.
So I was one of the members of staff asked to try the new hours, and at first the initial teething problems was quite hard, but then after we found it so much better. I felt like we was on top of the work from the beginning of the day, whereas when we started at 9:30 the work would already be piled high. It was extremely stressful and was adding to the low morale of the staff.
And we also created a new role within the team, which was the problem solver. This was a person to deal with any queries that we had, and it meant that the dispensers and checkers weren't getting broken off all the time. It also meant that we managed to trial and sustain the 2 dispensers to 1 checker, which is what we really wanted to do.
So it was challenging and interesting. Some staff were concerned about the late nights and the work later on in the day. We did have to tweak the rotas a bit, but at 4 o'clock all the work was clear. Staff went home, some of the staff went home at 4:30 and not 6 o'clock, and it was a big success, so we've carried on piloting the new hours for a month.
So after a week of trialling the new hours and the new rota, we reviewed the can of worms, and for the first time we actually had some positive feedback. So people felt less stressed and pressured, and we could feel the morale lift a bit. We've even had feedback from the ward saying that the medication's getting there quicker, and delivery staff feel like their work's getting there quicker, so they can get it up quicker. So we have managed to resolve some issues, some of them easily, some of them not. Some of them were just from communicating with our team and getting feedback from the staff and getting to vote on things that they felt affected them, i.e. when we was taking breaks and things. So there was some more resolved issues, and this was by adding second phones into the other corner of the room now, and a lot of them were resolved when we moved the benches back.
So up and until now, I've only been a bearer of bad news, but believe it or not, I've got some positive news for you this time. So this is our 90-day target progress report, and what do we see? A lot of positive changes here. So the staff walking distance has increased significantly. Decreased significantly, and it's way within their sponsor target at 18 minutes. The lead time's 8 minutes 42, which is way within the sponsor target. Working process and standard working process. We see the standard working process is still up by 8, which we wanted to reduce to 1. But it's still a work in progress, and we try and our possible best to reduce that number down to 1. And what is even being a positive boost to the staff is the morale there, which for the first time has gone up to 60%. And in the next slide, this is the tracker, a graph showing how our tracker works. And before the change was implemented, at peak times, an inpatient prescription could wait in the tray for up to 160 minutes before being processed. But after the change, that wait time at peak time is dropped down significantly to about 60 minutes. So it saved us about 100 minutes there, and it's had a positive impact on the staff and even on patients. And this graph proves that the changes have a positive impact on patient care.
Okay, so this was our value stream map prior to the RPIW, and what you can see here is a number of steps that James has eloquently talked about, but what's interesting is our process range time is from 24 minutes to 115 minutes, and what we've also got is these 2 red lines here, which are wait states because of what we call, because we were batching our processes. So as soon as you pick up 10, you create an order, you start working on that one, you put that one to the side and start labelling the next one. That creates a wait state for this one, whilst it doesn't move into the next process. And we have these wait states. So if we click to the next slide, this is our new value stream map. The steps are still there, but what we've seen are these 2 wait states completely removed because we're working in one piece flow. So there is no waiting until there is still a wait when the medicine is labelled and dispensed and placed onto the accuracy checking bench. So actually our patients are getting their medicines quicker. And this morning I was up on J9 doing some observations of a nurse doing a medicines round. And at 9:30, the nurse noticed that one of the patient's medicines was not available on the ward. By 10:30, the patient had that medicine, and that's because of the new processes we put in.
We know that change is difficult and everyone reacts differently. We learnt that preparation is key, we learnt that communication is key, and the communication has continued to improve with the dispensary. During RPIW week, we learnt to listen to the team, the voices of the home team have been heard, and the input has helped make the final changes. We learnt feedback is important, whether it's good or bad. And finally, from all of us involved in the RPIW week, we'd like to say a big thank you to the KPO team for working with us to make these positive changes. Thank you to our sponsors Liz and Una for giving us a challenge and supporting us. Thank you to Matt and Catherine for their support and enthusiasm. And most importantly, thank you to the home team for all the effort in making this project a success.
Wow, that was great. If ever there were a kind of example of sticking with it, and that was it. It was, yeah, brilliant, great. Thank you so much. That was there's so much to talk about with that, as there is with the others. So let's hold those questions, because first of all, it's graduation time, and this is always a great moment. And I'd like to welcome and congratulate, as they graduate as Lean for Leaders, Julie Leaper, Julie Ashton and James Evans. Would you like to come forward? James, congratulations. Brilliant. Well done. Julie, congratulations. Well done. And Julie, well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Quick photo. Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Well done. Well done. So, we have got about 3 minutes for questions. I know that word doesn't do justice to the depth, breadth and richness of what you've heard today from all of the report out. It's been a great report out, actually. It's been inspiring at the end of a testing week. So, yeah, really good to see. So let's get the ball rolling. Who'd like to kick off?
So I was the sponsor for the first RPIW report today. What an amazing team. I just wanted to say thank you to some of the home team who are actually in the room. So there's a couple of surgeons at the back of the room who've worked some pretty intense hours this week. And it was their feedback actually that I'm interested in hearing. So we've heard a huge list of changes, another list as long as my arm that are in the car park for me to sort out afterwards. But what are your thoughts from the week? So from the home team, what are the really important things that we need to keep our eye on going forwards?
I think we were very proactive this week, trying to be as efficient as we could. On Tuesday I walked 13 kilometres during the daytime only, back to theatre, trying to manage multiple theatres. And it was obvious that actually there wasn't a lot more efficiency to be gained. We just had too much work and a lot of space to do it. We've just finished a 96-hour shift, I think, an hour ago. We've done somewhere between 40 and 50 operations, seen over 100 patients, we've done 15 laparotomies, which are all 5-hour cases, and it feels pretty unsustainable to us. And although all the great work they've done, I think we're approaching the point of minimal return and ever decreasing as much.
So I guess it's just, I wanted to share that because I think what an amazing thing to have such good teamwork, that on the background of that we can get really good engagement on improvement work, which is hard and challenging and sometimes not the easiest to engage with. So I think you've done a fantastic job.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I was the sponsor for the medicines value stream, and you'll notice that we did do something different and report our 30, 60 and 90 days. It's not like pharmacists try and do something different, but there you go. And we wanted to do that because we wanted to share. There was a point in time that we felt that we might need to stop because it was that hard. Yeah. And therefore I'd really like to say thank you, because between the 60 and 90 days they really stuck at it. We did have, I know other people were saying about tears and stuff, change is hard and it has been hugely emotional for all of us. But we've come through and we now need to try and sustain what we've seen at 90 days and getting a positive morale thing. And green at last, as Derek was saying, he was the bearer of bad news for two reporting out there, but we got somewhere and we'd really like to sustain that, so a huge thank you to the team.
No, absolutely, and really well said. It was a great moment when you put that last, yeah, all that green, fantastic, yeah. Okay, time for one more question or comment? No? Oh, 3 hands at once. Go on then.
So, Julian, just to say, as the exec sponsor for the acute surgery value stream, I again, to emphasise what Emily said, a huge thank you to the team involved in this.
Yeah.
And absolutely just to confirm that we do recognise how hard people are working and how we do need to change. But I just want to say that perhaps a few years ago, it was recognised by some outside the team more than in the team, and I think that doing this piece of work, doing the measurement, has helped wider team members to recognise the need.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really, really great attendance today. Really good to have everyone participating and sharing this work. And isn't it great to see all of the improvement work that is happening, and this is just one snapshot of a huge amount that's going on. So I guess I'd just finish by encouraging all of you to take back the learning, but also the spirit of this in terms of the ability for us to make the changes that ultimately do make a difference to all of our patients and indeed to our staff. I'd like to invite the colleagues from Acute General Surgery Value Stream just to stay with me at the end to collect your certificates, but that's the end of report out for this week. Thank you very much.